What's up everyone? As you guys know, I like doing these comparisons. I really kind of run out of intros for these videos, so I recently just got the iPhone 8 back in the house, and as of this point I actually have every single iPhone that was ever released up until the iPhone 10. And because I just got the iPhone 8, I wanted to kind of compare it to other comparable iPhones that were just released. Now, the reason I'm kind of looking forward to the iPhone 8 versus the iPhone 6s, which is this video, is because I recently did the iPhone 8 Plus versus the iPhone 6s Plus, and I found that on opening speeds and loading speeds, the iPhone 6s Plus was actually faster on iOS 12 than the iPhone 8 Plus. So if you want to skip to this speed test, I'll put a timestamp on the screen so you guys can skip to it. I would recommend you guys kind of waiting and actually watching the video. I'm going to talk more about the specs and my experience with both of them. But again, you have that option if you want to, but I would really like it if you guys stay. But the iPhone 6s came out in 2015 in September. The iPhone 8 just came out last year in September of 2017. So between these two, if you were to look at them from the front, you would probably assume they were the same phone. They really don't look too different, I would say, from the front. But if you were to able to hold both of them in the hand, you can easily tell that the iPhone 8 feels way more premium than the iPhone 6s. That mostly has to do with the glass on the back. The iPhone 6s is pretty much just built out of aluminum, so it feels pretty much the same any way you hold it. Whereas on the iPhone 8, because it does have a glass back, it really makes it feel that much more premium. Now, because the iPhone 8 does have that glass, it's just one more part to break in my iPhone 8 that I have. The back of it is actually cracked. It is kind of annoying, but the cost to fix it is actually pretty expensive. I think it's still over like $200 or $300, which is pretty crazy. Now, it doesn't affect anything if you break it. Like, all the functions still work. It just does not look that good at all. But just know that you can always put a case on it or a skin or whatever. I would always recommend having a case on your phone, but that is one little thing to note. Now, looking at the front, more specifically the home button, they both have Touch ID too, but the iPhone 8 does have a vibration motor instead of an actual home button. So yes, they both click and they feel like they click, but the iPhone 8's home button actually isn't real. Like, it doesn't actually click in. It's just a vibration motor, which is super weird. And it actually, a lot of people don't believe it until they actually see that it doesn't fully click in, but it's pretty weird that that's the case. Now, I kind of like it because you can kind of customize how hard you want to click it, but I would kind of recommend the iPhone 6s's home button just because you really don't have an advantage over one or the other. But the iPhone 6s's home button isn't really connected to the screen. And what I mean by that is if you were to replace the screen for the iPhone 6s, you can do it yourself and save like hundreds of dollars and just put in a new screen and everything will still pretty much work on the phone. But if you were to replace the screen on the iPhone 8, the home button would actually not work anymore. And even if you keep the same motherboard and everything, it's just the screen. I think the home button is synced up with the screen, so Touch ID and the home button are not going to work, which is really weird. That same thing happened with my iPhone 7, and it's just the most annoying thing ever. So if you're looking to save the most money and getting a phone, like if you crack the screen, you can replace it yourself. The iPhone 6s does have the advantage here. And it overall does cost less too, but you're also kind of giving up some futurability of it in terms of software updates, so you kind of have to keep that in mind. And both of them have 4.7-inch screens. They both have the same exact resolution, 750p. They both have Force Touch. The iPhone 8 does have True Tone display, which is pretty cool. And that's more so hardware, so you can't get that through software. But I will say that between both, they look pretty similar, but the iPhone 8 feels way more premium, like I said already. Now, in terms of software, this is where we're going to find a little bit of difference. So the iPhone 6s started off getting iOS 9, and right now it is upgradable to iOS 12, whereas the iPhone 8 started off on iOS 11, and you can get iOS 12 on both of them, like I said. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is because the iPhone 8 is 2 years newer, technically on paper it's going to last 2 more years longer through software updates, but you kind of have to keep in mind that the iPhone 6s could very well last an extra year, so it could get iOS 14, so there's only going to be a year difference, but again, the iPhone 8 could also go a year longer too. So you kind of have a battle here of which one's going to go, which one's going to stay, but let's just say 2 years difference between them, so there's going to be 2 iOS versions that you're not going to get on the iPhone 6s where you're going to get them on the iPhone 8. So speaking forward, I would assume the iPhone 6s is pretty much going to stop at iOS 13, so it's going to get all of iOS 12 and it's going to get all of iOS 13. I'm assuming it's going to stop there, whereas the iPhone 8 is going to get iOS 13, 14, and 15 as well. So you have quite a bit of life left on the iPhone 8 where it's not on the end of the life on the iPhone 6s, but it's more than 50%, so you kind of have to keep that in mind with these things. Now, moving on to these specs and the actual performance of it, the iPhone 6s has the Apple A9 chip, a dual-core CPU, and 2 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 8 has the Apple A11 Bionic chip, a hexa-core processor, and 2 GB of RAM as well. So both of them have the same amount of RAM. Technically speaking, the iPhone 8 is more powerful because it does have way more cores, and it also has an updated chipset. So I will say performance on both has been pretty good. Obviously, the iPhone 8 is going to be tremendous. The iPhone 6s has been pretty good too. I mean, I really had no complaints with it. I mean, sometimes it does slow down and sometimes it does heat up here and there. But I would say overall, I don't really think one is extremely slower than the other, but I guess my assumption here could be wrong. I mean, let's go ahead and run that speed test and see what we can find. So I pretty much have both apps on both these phones, so I guess we're just gonna see which one is faster. Now, like I said, both running same exact version, pretty much the same apps. This one does have a couple few apps like in this folder, but it's all good. So let's go ahead and load up the camera. 3, 2, 1. That's kind of whatever. Let's do photos. 3, 2, 1. And that was faster on the iPhone 8. Calendar. 3, 2, 1. I think it was faster on the iPhone 8. Let's do mail. 3, 2, 1. It was faster on the iPhone 6s. All right, let's do maps. 3, 2, 1. Faster on the iPhone 8 for sure. Let's do clock. 3, 2, 1. That was pretty much even on both. Let's do weather. 3, 2, 1. I think it was a little bit faster on the iPhone 8. Let's do stocks. 3, 2, 1. Let me go ahead and rerun that. So this one was just still kind of loading. So let me hop out of both of them. Okay, get back into it. Let's do stocks again. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, faster on the iPhone 8. Let's do notes. 3, 2, 1. And it looked like it was faster on the iPhone 6s by a little bit. Let's do news again. 3, 2, 1. Yep, faster on the iPhone 8. Let's go and do iTunes Store. 3, 2, 1. Faster on the iPhone 8. So I actually took a break for a second. I just went ahead and updated the apps. So I had a lot of apps that we did in this test, so I just updated those, but everything's good now. Let's go and do the App Store. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 6s was a little bit faster there, but it could just be because I was updating the apps, who knows. Let's do iBooks. 3, 2, 1. And I think I tapped on the iPhone 8 a little bit faster, but I mean, it's still opened up faster, so it's good. Let's go ahead and go to the second page. Let's do the Watch app. 3, 2, 1. And it looked pretty even on both, in my opinion. Now, one might have been faster, but I'm looking at it at an angle, so you never know. Let's go ahead and do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. And it looks like I tap on it on the iPhone 8 a little bit slower, but I don't think I do. It might just be a little glitch. The iPhone 6s was faster here. Let's go ahead and do Facebook. 3, 2, 1. Like I said, both of these are updated to their fullest thing, and the iPhone 6s was faster again. Hopefully it's not another one of those things where the iPhone 6s Plus, if you saw the other video, was faster than the iPhone 8 Plus and iPhone 10. Let's do Instagram. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 6s is faster yet again. Kind of weird. Let's go ahead and do Snapchat. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 6s was faster again. It seems to be another one of those examples, and I hate doing it, but it is what it is. I don't know how to, I'm not faking it or anything. Go ahead and do Temple Run. 3, 2, 1. And if it's another one of those cases, okay, so the iPhone 8 is faster here, so that's a good thing. Even though, okay, whatever, I was going to say something, but it's going to say stupid. Yeah, the iPhone 8 is faster here, thank God. The iPhone 6s was a little bit behind, but, not too far off either. But definitely the iPhone 8 was faster here. Thank goodness. I don't want it to be another one of those examples where the iPhone 8 was slower than the iPhone 6s. Let's go ahead and do Real Racing 3. 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 8 is going to be faster because it got into that loading screen a little bit faster too. And it got in Game Center faster. Let me just go ahead and click on both screens. Now the iPhone 6s could technically load up. Okay, so we're already in the game here. And the iPhone 6s is a little bit behind noticeably. And then we got into the game shortly after on the iPhone 6s. So definitely the iPhone 8 was in the league here. And if we look at the multi-core scores, you'll see that the iPhone 8 is way ahead of this thing. So I need to update both of them. I'll update them later. But the iPhone 6s is at 148,204. The iPhone 8 is at 206,014. So a little bit of difference. I will definitely say the iPhone 8 is noticeably faster, but sometimes the iPhone 6s is faster too. But that could be because I have some cache stored in the background, so you never know. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the speed comparison. Now let's get to the rest of the video. Oh my god, guys, that was the craziest speed test ever. I can't believe that just happened. I'm just kidding. As you guys know, I filmed the speed test after, so I have no idea how the comparisons went, which is kind of good, so I don't have a bias towards one or the other. Now, speaking in terms of the camera, they both have 12 megapixel sensors. Now, they both actually can shoot 4K videos, and I'll say this right now, obviously the iPhone 8's camera probably is better, but I don't really see too much of a difference between them just straight off just from photos. I think both photos look pretty good. I'm more surprised that the iPhone 6s is as good as it is, even though the iPhone 8 probably is better. I do think I have to show so much respect for the iPhone 6s. Now, the biggest difference between them probably is the video resolutions and frame speeds that they can film in. So they both, like I said, can shoot 4K, but the iPhone 8 can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second and 1080p at up to 240 frames per second, where you can only shoot 4K at 30 frames and 1080p at up to 120 frames. So for about 99% of people who are watching this, it's going to be perfectly adequate. Even shooting 4K is kind of overkill for a lot of people out there. They're probably going to shoot in 1080p. So I'll say that in terms of video resolutions and camera quality at all, you're going to be perfectly fine with both of these phones. And like I said, I'm pretty much more surprised how well the iPhone 6s shoots videos and photos in than what the iPhone 8 does, because obviously, like I said, it is better, but there's really not a huge difference between them if I'm being honest. The front camera is a little bit different on both as well. The iPhone 6s has a 5 megapixel camera. The iPhone 8 has a 7 megapixel camera, so about a 2 megapixel difference. And I would say the iPhone 8 does look a little bit better. But again, this is kind of like, a lot of variables, lighting, all this, this and that. You're probably not going to notice that much of a difference if I'm being honest. So in terms of cameras, the iPhone 8 is better. But if I had to rate it, like the iPhone 8, let's say the iPhone 8 was a 10 out of 10, 100% perfect camera, the iPhone 6s would easily be like an 85% without a doubt. Now moving on to something else that's kind of interesting. In terms of battery life, both of them are kind of weird, I'll be honest. They both, apparently they're going to get around the same battery life. The iPhone 6s had about a 1,715 milliamp hour battery. The iPhone 8 had about a 1,821 milliamp hour battery. And I'll say that maybe the battery life is better on the iPhone 8. The iPhone 6s had a lot of battery problems, and because it is older, the battery probably has deteriorated quite a bit. But even if these phones were both at 100% on iOS 12 right now, I would probably give the advantage to the iPhone 8. One thing I'll definitely say though is that battery degradation is a real thing. So the iPhone 6s, if you plan on getting one, I would recommend going into the battery health options in the settings app and making sure that your battery is over at least like 90%. If it's under 90%, I would probably recommend you go take it to the Apple Store before the end of this year and actually swap out the battery. And you should probably do the same thing on the iPhone 8 as well. Both phones aren't new anymore. You can get the iPhone 8 new. You cannot get the iPhone 6s new anymore. So I'd recommend you guys to take both phones if they're under 90%. Go take it to the Apple Store. I've seen both phones before of friends and people who have had iPhone 8s, and I read online that even their batteries are sometimes even like 79%. If it's that bad, you should probably take it to the Apple Store. So between both, the iPhone 8 probably would be better, and another huge advantage of the iPhone 8 is actually that it has wireless charging. So you can put your phone on a wireless charger throughout the day and have it charging, whereas on the iPhone 6s, you actually don't have that option unless you get a case that has wireless charging or whatever. But I would still probably recommend the iPhone 8, not only because it has a little bit better battery life, like it's not days better, like you're going to probably get like 35, 45 minutes better of battery life, especially on iOS 12, but I'll still probably say that the wireless charging in and of itself gives the iPhone 8 a huge advantage here. Now, some other notable things to note, really the only hardware thing that the iPhone 6s has going for it, probably besides the glass back, which can be a pro or a con. The iPhone 6s has the headphone jack, which is probably a huge thing and a huge deal for a lot of people still. So if you use headphones or anything like that and they're wired, the iPhone 6s has the option, but both phones do have lightning ports, as you know, and they both can play music through the lightning port, so you can always have that option as well. But really that's the only advantage in terms of hardware that the 6s has. They both have fingerprint sensors. The iPhone 8 also has an advantage in terms of speaker effect. The iPhone 8 speaker up top on the front actually acts as another speaker, so we have a little bit more like media consumption, I would assume, on the iPhone 8. But in terms of everything else, the way I would sum this up is that yes, the iPhone 8 is definitely better. It's a 100% better phone, no doubt, but the iPhone 6s is not that much far off. Like I say, if the iPhone 8 was a 100% perfect phone right now, and it was like a 10 out of 10, the iPhone 6s would probably be like, I would say like 80%, 85%. The only things that might lack in aren't really going to affect you for a while. Performance is still pretty good. The software is the only thing I kind of have like a little hesitation with, just because the iPhone 8 is going to last way longer than the iPhone 6s. But still, you're still going to get at least like 2 more years of support out of the iPhone 6s, so I wouldn't even worry about that now. So this is what I'll say. If you can find a good deal on an iPhone 8, go for it. But the iPhone 6s are going for less than $200, where it's pretty hard to find an iPhone 8 for under $300. So you have that option on both, but I would really recommend you guys weigh all the odds. The iPhone 8 is definitely better and it's faster and it's this and that, but the iPhone 6s is still also a pretty decent option. I've done still worth it videos in the later part of 2018 on both of them, so if you guys want to look those and have a more understanding of both of them, you guys can search through my channel and find those videos too. But in terms of that, if you plan on picking up an iPhone 8 or iPhone 6s, I'll leave links in the description below so you guys can pick it up. I would really recommend you guys getting them through that link so you can help support the channel at the same time. I'd really appreciate it. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. I do a lot of iOS comparisons, not on just like the full releases, but on the betas and all that stuff too. And I'd really appreciate if you guys could check that channel out too. I really appreciate it. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.